Alrighty, Tim, we are good to go.
Hello and welcome, everyone. We are live after the final siren of the round after, I don't know, whatever the hell that was. It was bullet after bullet with coaches having a number of issues to address, but it's okay. We're here to help you, or maybe we're here to help ourselves with our AFL Fantasy Therapy session tonight. I am your host and AFL Fantasy Fanatic, Tim Guest, and you can find me on socials at TimGuestAU. Now, for those listening on the pod, it's Sunday the 5th of May. Next time, why don't you come join us live on YouTube and X? And thanks to all of you, those who have already sent in their questions. And make sure, if you haven't sent in your questions, comment on those platforms wherever you're watching. Name a player you want to discuss or a question you want to ask. And if we don't cover it during the show, we'll discuss it before we wrap up. Now, joining me as always is my co-host. It's Bails, DT, mate. How was your weekend? How much of the carnage did you end up copping?
Oh, glad that round's over. Far out. That was bad. I didn't cop it as bad as other people. So we'll obviously get into all of that throughout the round. But yeah, it was just a long weekend. To be honest, last week was Wednesday to Sunday. This week felt twice as long, and it was a day shorter. It's going to be interesting when we get into everything. So yeah, let's get stuck in.
Sure. Well, before we get stuck in, mate, let's turn and introduce our guest for tonight. So you know her as AFL Fantasy Perth. She's the founder of the Friday night catch-ups in Perth that we have now at the Camfield. I know her as Cara. Most of us know her as Cara as well. And, of course, she's got some cred because she's got a number 15 hat from last year. Cara, how are you going?
I'm doing very well, although I feel like a major imposter because I've gone from hat to absolute potato.
Well, like some of our players this year.
Yeah, exactly.
You're in good company because I feel like every single thing I've said over the last couple of weeks has gone completely wrong and been the complete opposite as well. So don't I wouldn't feel bad about anything like that. I know you've got plenty of good intel on players. So, well, look, let's get through the pain first, right? Let's handle the bad news. How are you panning out this year?
So I'm ranked out at like over 20,000. So I absolutely stink. It's probably one of the worst years I've had for a while. And I went up 5,000 in rank this week. I scored a 2076 this round. So I didn't have as much carnage as some people. And obviously I benefited from that. I think Yo's probably my issue, I think, from an injury point. And I wonder why I do this.
Yeah. So it was Yo was a bit of an injury. You dropped out there for a second. What did you say after that?
Yo was my injury. I don't think I had anyone else, although who knows. And I just in regards to score got a 2076 for this round. And I'm questioning why I play it.
Well, moving in the right direction. And look, it's still only round 8, and Jesus, I think there's a lot to shake out yet. Bales, let's talk about you, mate. How'd you end up for the week?
2041. Moved down 140 spots. I didn't, again, as I said before, I didn't cop as much carnage as everyone else. So I thought I was actually going to rise up in the ranks this week. But just a few other players that just either had bad games or anything like that. So not too great. I think I had like a round rank, I think, well outside 10,000. 14,926 for the round. So not great. First rank full for the season for the week. So hopefully we can make that back up and then some next week. Oh, as a fly.
Sorry, coughing my guts up. So I managed to mute it in time. But all right, well,
How about you, Tim?
Yeah, well, I didn't manage to have as good a week as you guys this week. It was a 2007 for me, which dropped me about 500 spots. I haven't had a look at what I was in terms of a round rank. Let's just see if I can quickly do it. Round rank 21,000. So look, like I was, especially after Saturday, and we'll talk about +3, -3 soon. But I thought it was going to be an absolute disaster of a round, but I still scored okay, and I didn't get hurt as much as what I thought it was. So, well, why don't we do that? Why don't we now kind of turn to everyone's +3 and -3? Why don't we start with you, Cara? How did everyone pan out for you this week?
Yeah, I think my +3 would be probably Hayden Young. I liked what he did. And my -3 is Sheffield. That was really bad. It was terrible to watch as well.
Yeah, never does well with a tag, though, does he?
Mm-mm.
Bales, what about you, mate?
So +3. My trade-in of the week, Caleb Sarong, 141. Didn't get to watch that game, unfortunately. I was watching the UFC at the same time, so I was just keeping track of the score, and very, very nice to see going up. And also shout out to Errol Goulden as well, because if it wasn't for me getting Errol Goulden, I would have unfortunately gone down the Tom Green path this week. So shout out to him sort of bringing him in a couple of weeks ago, because that did save me there. -3. Geez, yeah, there's a lot of players that could be put here, but I'm actually going to give it to Jack McRae, but /champion data. Like, watching that game, if anyone else is watching this game as well, you know exactly what I'm talking about. McRae was missing, I think, at least 4 tackles, and they weren't added. I don't even know what constitutes tackle anymore these days, to be honest. So yeah, that was very, very frustrating. So yeah, I think I'll give him my +3, and he's again, potential issue that I'm not going to be able to deal with, but hopefully he can just go okay and just not be the sub. So, and then Bevo as well, -3.
Yeah. Okay, all right. He's been getting it a lot lately, hasn't he?
He might not be there next week. Let's see how we go.
Yeah. All right. Well, +3, -3 for me. Well, +3, I'm going to give it to Tristan Sherry. I know a lot of coaches obviously traded him out this week. I mean, I traded out a Brody Grundy. I'm not exactly sure what he scored, but I know that was pretty big. So that kind of hurt a little bit. But good on Sherry for throwing up my highest score for the week. And look, it's pretty tough to give it to an injured player, but to trade in Tom Green and then get a 7 with an injured ankle, that really hurt for the week. So
I guess you can give me -3 because apparently there's a chance he plays next week.
Yeah, so, well, we've got to wait and see how that goes. I mean, look, I guess the other players that were kind of up for it was a Lockie Whitfield once again tagged, Elliot Yeo injured. Everyone else kind of played pretty well, and probably Darcy Wilson was pretty stiff not to get it as a rookie that was on who racked up a ton and was probably best on ground for the Saints as well. All right, well, before we get into the games, we're just going to do a quick update on the Content Creators Cup. Bales, how did you go in the Content Creators Cup this week, mate?
Close loss to Jep, 16 points. Hey, if McRae had those tackles, I might have drawn with Jep. So, but yeah, second loss for the year. And funny enough, everyone around me won. So I'll probably drop to, I think, 4th or 5th when the ladder comes out. I'll probably down to 4th, I think.
Yeah, well, probably. I had despite having a pretty rough week. I was playing Harmy this week, and Harmy had a much tougher week than I did. He had an 18-20, and up against my 20-07, that still gave me a win. So I think that'll now click me into. I think maybe it's 4-4, or maybe it's even 4. What are we round? Oh, geez, I can't even figure it out.
Yeah, post round 8. Yeah, so it'd be 4 and 4 or something.
Yeah, something like that. So I think I'm doing all right, but we'll just see how things go. But probably just notable results for the week with the ladder not having come out yet was Jake from Dunkley's Donuts had a 21.66, so pretty big score. Stato had a 21.01. They're probably the only ones to mention, so I'm not exactly sure how that panned out, but we might give you an update later in the week. But in the meantime, don't forget the AFL Fantasy Content Creators Cup is proudly brought to you by Infinite Wealth, making smarter financial decisions, where winning coaches will get $5,000 for their favourite charity. And just a reminder, there's a bunch of free gifts valued at over $3,000 available for every AFL fantasy coach. Just head across to infinitewealth.com.au/AFL Fantasy to claim your free financial freedom masterclass and a stack of tools and resources to help you make smarter financial decisions. If you have a mortgage, I'll teach you how to pay it off up to 3 times faster. If you're paying too much tax, I can show you how to save thousands each year. If you're someone who's committed to building your wealth, and I can show you how I bought 13 properties by the age of 27. So just head to infinitewealth.com.au/AFL Fantasy to claim and for more details. All right, Bales, it's time we got stuck into the game. So we'll kick it off with the showdown on Thursday night. Seems like a long time ago now, where Adelaide defeated Port Adelaide by 30 points. We know Bales is up and around after going Adelaide Oval. Of course, injuries to note out of that was Georgiades hurt his knee, and Connor Rosie hurt that hamstring, which was it a different hamstring, Bales?
I think it was the other one. I think it was the other one.
Oh,
I reckon.
Yeah. So, we're going to see how that pans out this week. But in terms of subs, Brodie Smith replaced Dan Curtin at 3/4 time, and Jackson Mead replaced Connor Rosie at 3/4 time.
Yeah, so probably not too many players sort of to go deep into here. But Zach Butters, 104, got the job done. You'd be happy with the 100 there. Matt Crouch, 103 as well. Tim, I know you've still got Matty Crouch, so very good. Another 100 from him.
So do I.
Beautiful.
Yeah, after down a couple of weeks, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's good to see him going well. Dawson and Laird both getting to the 100 exactly, and Dawson particularly was good in that set. Oh, actually both, because Laird was on 28 at halftime. Dawson was on 34 at halftime. So both to get hundreds was very, very good. Jordan Sweet, 88, was a pretty solid score, and obviously led to myself and a few others bringing Sweet onto the field and trading a Tristan Cherry. And then Tim with trading Brodie Grundy. So unfortunately, we copped a big score there. But hopefully it's good in the long run. Connor Rosie, obviously we talked about 51 injured, and Dan Curtin, 35. So the only part I was going to ask about, Cara, was Jake Saligo, 115. Is it too late to get him, do you think? Or do you think there's still
what a miss.
part where you can bring him?
What's he priced at? I've got no idea.
So he is currently priced at
678.
Yeah, and so he'll be over 700k next week, probably with a break even in the 40s or the 30s still.
I'd probably say it's too late, but if you jumped on him, you'd be pretty happy. He looks good.
Does it round 15 buy maybe tempt you a little bit because you can hold him through all the buys?
Yeah, I definitely see that. I brought in Laird this round that just went, and it was the reason I chose him. I actually had him all week, and then 5 minutes before the game switched to Rosie, and then 3 minutes out switched back to Laird, thank God. And the big pull there was that buy round. It looked good. So, yeah, I could see you doing it for that round 15 buy.
Yeah, no, definitely.
It's just going to be a bit tough to bring in being a midfielder, right?
Yeah, I guess I agree. The way you could look at it is if you've got a couple of bullets. So if you've got a Yo in your midfield, maybe Rosie, could you go one down and one up? Maybe grab a Merritt and just lock him in or something like that. Maybe get someone else up there. So,
and look, I mean, probably going hell early on this, but we've already talked about how. I mean, last couple of weeks, I think we've answered questions about McKercher and said there's no way we would bring him in. But now with some bullets like a Tom Green and an Elliot Yo, suddenly, players where you can kind of, maybe take a Primo and Yo down to, I don't know, split between 2 700-odd players. Now suddenly these players are coming into calculation. So, yeah, certainly one that could be looked at for players in that position.
Yeah, no, definitely something to look at. Beautiful. Well, we'll move on to Carlton and Collingwood.
Yeah, great game. Carlton defeated by Collingwood by 6 points at the MCG. Bo McCreary was concussed in the second quarter and was replaced by Lockie Sullivan. A little bit of a dream debut for that young kid. And Matt Kennedy replaced Zach Williams in the fourth quarter also. Yeah,
so another forward premium that is not looking like an option at the moment, but not too. Again, not quite a fantasy relevant game here, but Nick Newman with a 144, bounced back to some form. So someone maybe you could keep an eye on. I don't know if I'd launch in just yet. Sam Walsh, 106, got the job done yet again. Lockie Sullivan could be a target, 57 points. You obviously have to, it's a bit hard. You won't know if he's a sub or not because that's going to be the Sunday game. So could be risky there. I don't know. I think Dugoey's still he might be out for a couple of weeks. And Mitchell, we don't know if he's back. Zach Williams as well, 54. Don't even really need to talk about him too much because he's just a trade out because he's one of the most frustrating players to own. Thankfully, he was on my bench, but I know a lot of people had him on their field still, so sorry about that. But Cara, Nick Dacos, 122. First real big game fantasy-wise for a long time, and just kicked a casual goal just to put Collingwood in front and win him the game. He's absolute freak. If you don't have him, is he a must-get this week? And I don't mean, obviously, must-get's obviously team-dependent, but I think with a lot of bullets, if you don't have him, do you think you've got to get him in this weekend as he's got West Coast?
Yeah, I would. I got him in 2 weeks ago. So the first week he stunk, but he, paid it off, just gone. And, I think with Yo looking to miss, I would assume, I'd happily, and with Zach Williams, I'd be launching into that.
Yeah, I'd agree. I don't have in that he's my number one target this week for my own team personally. Tim, would you agree with that as well? If you don't have Dacos, you'd be making a mission to get him in?
I definitely have him pretty high on the target. The only thing you kind of said, is he a must get? I mean,
yeah, obviously,
his break even.
Yeah.
His break even was 111, right? He scored 120. What was it, 122? Yeah, exactly, right. And so he's probably still going to be under 900. So if depending on how the carnage looks and all that kind of stuff, if you can't get him this week, it's not a problem. But he won't move too much in price. But yeah, he wants to be pretty high on the target, especially as he starts to get more support in that midfield. It'll be interesting to see how he scores then.
Yeah, exactly. Beautiful. That's it from that game. We'll move on to the other game.
Sydney defeating GWS by 29 points at the SCG. So Tom McCartan had that head knock in the second quarter and was replaced by Robbie Fox. And then Tom Green with that ankle early in the first quarter wasn't replaced until the second quarter, though, by Harvey Thomas.
Yeah, cool. So a few scores from this game. So Brodie Grundy went big again, 134. Seems to really love playing at the SCG, and he loves tackling there as well. Isaac Heaney, 99, just missed out on the ton there, along with Errol Goulden, who played very well, but just a 98. I wasn't expecting a huge game from Errol with the conditions. Taylor Adams with a 67. He's probably crossed off our list until post his bye, if he's even going to be an option. Darcy Jones, another solid game from him in a Giants loss with a 56. Could be a pretty popular downgrade target again this week. Cadman with a 49, probably stay about the same price, but he can go if you've got him. Lockie Whitfield with a 48. Tough game. Got tagged by Jordan for the whole day. Gave away a few free kicks as well. So unfortunately, poor score, but I'm sure he'll bounce back this week. And then Harvey Thomas, I was mentioned as a sub with a 31. But Tim, James Peatling, we did mention, a few people mentioned him last week. I wasn't really keen, but 115, backed it up. He's going to be about 440, 450. Is there any sort of interest from you, or are you still worried about that Giants team and he could be sub or out of the team at any point?
Look, I mean, I think there's got to be interest in him. 115, 81 last week. I mean, once now that he's kind of in the side, I mean, I'm not sure what his job security looks like, but yeah, with those forward line options kind of drying up a little bit. I mean, we've got another line. Matt Kennedy was one of those. We were kind of talking in the pre-lockout chat on Friday about how, we've all been looking at these forward options, but it's over the past 3 weeks, pretty much every single name that we've talked about has changed. Baker was another one who scored poorly on the weekend. So, it's interesting to see how that's playing out. So those cheaper options are certainly ones that coaches should be looking at.
Yeah, exactly. And Cara, Matt Roberts, 49. Poor game from him, unfortunately. The conditions obviously weren't great. He was on the bench for a long time as well. Do you just put that down to conditions with the poor score and you're happy to keep him till his round 12 bye? Or is he a guy that if you don't have, I guess, those bullets, are you happy to trade him?
I was looking at trading him this week, like him and Cadman or something like that, just because he's got a bit of coin on his head. And I think I've got about 4 rookies on field at the minute. So, yeah, that was pretty poor, and I think that cash geno is going to start to stop, so I think you can jump.
Yeah, I think you can as well. It depends probably how many people can with all the bullets going around. I'll have to deal with other
Let's
people
not
first.
do any of that team-dependent shit. We'll get in trouble. I'm just calling it.
Yeah. Beautiful. All righty, we'll move on to the next game, the Twilight game on the Saturday.
Yeah, so St Kilda defeated North by 38 points at Marvel Stadium. So Angus Hasty was subbed off in the third quarter and was replaced by Ryan Burns. And then Toby Pink came on for Riley Hardiman, who was a trading target for many coaches in the third quarter.
Yeah, very surprising that he got subbed out in a low score against the Saints as well.
Number of surprising subs this week.
Yeah, exactly. Tristan Sherry, 127, was massive. Season I score for him, and yeah, not great considering I traded him out, but hopefully he won't bite him in the long run. Ron Marshall as well, a few people jumped off him as well, 117. I think anyone pretty much jumped off of a ruck this week. It bit them because every ruck besides pretty much gone. And then you sweet, I think every other one went above 110. So Winhager, I know Jake from Matt Chat's got him nicely sitting in his team, but 112 for him. Gavin got a 104, solid score from him. Brad Hill, 103, along with Zach Fisher, who if she's in the midfield, we could be actually. I'll ask you about him in a sec. Actually, I'll come back to him. Jack Steele and Darcy Wilson both scoring on the 100. A lot of people scoring on the 100 this week. Harry Sheasel 89, Riley Bonner 87, LDU 74, and Tom Power 71. So I'll ask you about a couple of players here. So Cara, I'll go to you first for Jack Sinclair with a massive 156. He's cheap. Obviously had a slow start to the year, but back-to-back tons. I don't know if too many people are going to be in this position as with all the defenders we got, but could a Yo to a Sinclair trade be an option for those coaches that have already got Dacos?
Yeah, I agree. He's obviously has been awful and kind of forgotten, but he's real cheap. Like he's in the low 8s. So yeah, I would easily switch to that.
Yeah, he's a player that I was looking at a couple of weeks ago thinking, when's going to be the right time? But with all the carnage this way, I don't know if I'll be able to get him. So you might have to wait on him there for myself. Zach Fisher, Tim, 103. Bounced back to form after being the sub last week against the Saints, obviously, as well, with 103. But with Sheasel moving into the midfield, pretty much full-time on the weekend, is there a play where probably not launching into it this week, but could we be bringing him back in post that round 12 bye?
There's a lot that could play out between now and then, especially in that forward line. So yeah, that many weeks away, I'm a bit hesitant. But So I didn't get to see this game because I had my kids this weekend. So I was interested to ask about what happened to Harry Sheasel. So he played midfield the whole game, did he?
Yeah, mid-forward.
Yeah,
and you could just really tell that Fisher was the beneficiary of that.
Yeah, okay. And what about Colby McKercher?
Well, yeah, I was going to ask you guys about Colby. So, Cara, could you bring Colby back in? He's going to be probably just over 500K or something. Could we bring him back in with this good role if Chiefs was playing midfield?
With that role there, because he's still in the 4s and he definitely had kick-ins. I saw him do some kick-ins and stuff. So he's definitely further back how he was when we first liked him. I obviously got rid of him a couple of weeks ago, so I can't do it. But yeah, I can see the play.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. Tim,
especially if you did Yo to him, that would free up some cash to go big somewhere else.
Yep, yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
it could be a play. Tim?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of trade scenarios this week. So as an example, like a Zach Williams, a little, potentially, it might be a little bit sideways or something along those lines, but it depends what coaches have got to do with a Tom Green and what coaches have got to do with an Elliot Yo. But there's, it's an easy move to get sideways across from one of these rookies, i.e. a Dempsey or someone along those lines, to someone who looks like they've got the role and the ability to turn up every week, even a Jeremy Sharp, if coaches didn't get off him last week.
Yeah, the only flag I'll do with McKercher is I'm looking at it. He is playing up at TIO on Saturday against Gold Coast. So slippery conditions, but on the weekend, he did have 30 touches and only 3 marks. So he wasn't relying on those marks to get a solid score. So I think if he still got the role, he could still be a play. It was him and Fisher that split the kick-ins as well. So, I'm definitely looking at it, I think. So.
And Jack Sinclair in this game, what sort of role did he play? Was he midfield or halfback?
He was a mixture it seemed like he mostly played midfield. So he had 21 CBA. So he was in top 3. It was Steele at 26, Marshall 21, and then Sinclair was 21 as well, and then Ross was 21 as well. Then you had a Winhager was there, and then Owens had a couple, but that was more for a ruck anyway. So besides that, it was a pretty tight midfield mix of 4. So I think it depends if Paddy Dow comes into the side. I know Dossie will love hearing that as well if he comes back in. But it seems like they're happy with Bonner and Nasai playing at half back and Hill coming up the ground and playing as a high half forward, and maybe Sinclair's going to settle into his midfield role.
Yeah, there is a lot of uncertainty about his role, and it does seem like there's not a lot of room in that midfield. So, there's some talk. Well, even Ross was talking about him potentially going into that half back, which I think could throw a bit of a spanner in the works for people like Gavin and Riley Bonner. Yeah.
Well, you got Brad Crouch as well, was 2 to 3 weeks away with a knee. So he'll play maybe a couple of weeks in the VFL or maybe a week, but then he'll be back in that midfield as well. So it's a lot to play out. So, and he's got that round 15 bye, which might not quite work for a lot of teams as well. So beautiful. We'll move on to the next game.
Yeah, so Melbourne finally knocked off Geelong from their undefeated run by 8 points MCG. Tanner Braun hurt his shoulder in this contest in the third term, and was replaced by Gary Rowan. And then the sub for Melbourne, Bailey Laurie, came on and replaced Jack Billings in the fourth term.
Yeah. So a few posts run through here. Max Holmes, if you did start with him, he's been very, very solid. I think it was his first ton, actually, with a 120, but he's been really consistent this year. So if you started with him, he's been pretty solid. Caleb Windsor, solid score. If you still have him in your side with a 99. Gawn was frustrating, except for that last term. Thank God for that last term. That was a big one. I think he had, 46 points, doubled his score. If it wasn't for that, it was going to be bad for a lot of coaches out there. I'm sure Tim was happy at 3/4 time with Gawn there. So Tom Stewart, 83. Unfortunately, Tom Stewart's just been an 80s guy so much this year, besides a couple of games. So if you've still got him, he's probably going to be a guy at the buys you maybe flick or something like that. Brian Myers with a 78, not a huge score, but he's been a guy that's fairly consistent at forward line. Petrarca again struggled with a 77. Jai Clark, who could be the beneficiary potentially of if Tanner Braun does miss any time, he got a 62, so he'll go up a little bit in price this week, which is nice. Ollie Dempsey had a big first quarter, again faded after that, only 33 points in that with a 60. Blake has got a 50 as well. But the player I think we need to talk about, Cara, Clayton Oliver, 106. His time on ground took a little bump as well, looked a bit better. Is it time, or are you waiting another week?
I probably want to wait. These Melbourne players have been really difficult to watch. Like, they yo-yo a lot. So Petrarca, I started with Viney, and sadly I still have him. He's been stinking. And it's only been, apart from a ton in round the first, not opening round, but round one, that's his first ton since. I probably would want to see another one to just confirm it. But he's cheap.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as well. I want to see one more week. I don't know who their matchup is, Melbourne, this week. So Melbourne have got...
He's got...
Carlton. It's on a Thursday night as well, so you've got to lock it in the first game, which maybe coaches don't want to be doing that. And Carlton can be a tricky matchup for midfielders as well. So if you wait one more week, after that, he does have West Coast. So that could be the one where you're launching to Clayton Oliver. So something to consider there. But definitely, if you want to go there, he's definitely not a terrible option. He looked better than what he has in previous weeks.
Especially with the chaos this week, we might see some coaches get creative. Once again, you might find that, you could go like sideways from an Elliot Yeo to a Clayton Oliver.
Which is crazy to think that's what we'll be doing.
It is crazy.
That is the fantasy world that we are in 2024. Beautiful. We'll move on to the other Saturday night game.
All right, West Coast defeated by Essendon by 6 points at Optus Stadium. Late change here with Ryan Marrick was replaced in the side by Dom Sheed, who came back in. After Marrick was laid out with illness. And then, of course, a couple of injuries out of this. We're all talking about to Elliot Yeo. It only seems fairly minor, but it is a groin issue there. And then Long hurt his knee there, as well as Jai Caldwell having some calf tightness. Now Harvey Johnston, the debutant, came on and replaced Noel Long at 3/4 time, and Ben Hobbs, who was a sub for Essendon, replaced Jai Caldwell in the third quarter as well.
Yep, so a couple of bullets from this game that a lot of coaches would have had. Let's quickly fire through these. Nick Martin, 119, absolute jet. Love watching him, and he's great. If you went him captain as a bit of a smoky this week, you were very much rewarded there. Zach Merritt with a 110. Jet in my matchup had him captain. I was really hoping he wasn't going to go as well, but he went pretty solid. Kicked 3 goals as well, which was good of Zach to do that there. Liam Duggan been pretty consistent with a 98 this week. Jai Caldwell, we spoke about with the 61, calf tightness. Not quite sure on the severity of that. Calf tightness, I'm not sure if he'll play next week or not. He probably will, but we'll have to see. Harley Red 55 as well. Bit quieter in this game, but those double Donago on Zach Merritt and Ben Hobbs was definitely he's just a very, very good player. But we will start with Elliot Yeo, Tim. 62, groin injury. Apparently it's on the very minor end, but West Coast have spoken about wanting to potentially rest him at some point. I see this as a good opportunity for them to give him that rest. Even if he didn't rest, is he a guy that you'd be happy to trade off of because we've got these good scores? There's a bit of an injury niggle now, and just to maybe cut ties with him?
Yeah, look, I think once again, I don't want to say the team dependent thing, right? But it's going to depend what bullets coaches have this week and what they've got to deal with. But I mean, because if Elliot Yeo is named in the side, you'd think he would play. There would be a concern about him being maybe subbed out, but you could probably hang on to him if he's named in the side. But I mean, I think the other thing is he's not really a top 6 defender. His scoring has kind of started to drop off a bit in the last couple of weeks. Maybe he's starting to get a bit tired anyway. With the risk of him being rested, I think savvy coaches will be looking to get off and see what they can do there at D6.
Cara, are you in agreement with that with Elliot Yeo?
Yeah, I am. I just think with his history in the past with injuries, and for me, I think it's a red flag. And like Tim said, there's so many choices in defence. So I think he's done us well, and I think we've got way more weeks out of him than we all thought. So I think jump.
Yeah, and I guess with Yeo, if people got defenders in their midfield, maybe bringing a midfielder, we've got a few targets, which we will lead into this next one, Cara. Darcy Parish, 147. I watched the last quarter of this game. I was doing the watch along at the same time for the Melbourne Geelong game. Watching this game, he looked back to running on top of the ground, looked really good, getting a lot of marks, some tackles as well. His time on ground was up over 80% as well, which is 68% was the week before. He looked better and then back to normal. He's very cheap. I think he's just over 800K. Is he someone you could potentially look at for maybe a Yeo or a Tom Green or a Rosie replacement?
Yeah, like especially they're playing. Who are they playing next? Actually, Giants, and then North Melbourne. He's got the round 14 bye. You could. I remember he was one of my starting picks that I obviously went off when he wasn't playing early. But yeah, God, you could. I can't see why not.
Would you be going him over a Clayton Oliver?
If I had to choose this week, yes, just because he's done it a couple of more times.
Yep, I'd agree as well. Yep, Tim, you in agreement with that as well?
Oh, look, I'm feeling a bit spicy. I mean, I'm only because I'm not having a great year, right? So, and like I said, I might have to get creative this week. So, that's why I have been thinking about a McKercher. It is going to depend on how Tom Green plays out. I mean, maybe he's a hold even if he does get up for this week. But yeah, there's still Elliot Yeo to deal with as an issue, and I still want to try and upgrade.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a player that we might talk about coming up soon anyway. So, look, let's move on. We are going to turn our attention to the Sunday game soon. But just a reminder, if you are joining us live on X or on YouTube, to let us know your questions by commenting on those platforms. But the next game is Richmond defeated Freo by 54 points at the MCG. Sean Darcy came off with a tight calf in the third quarter and was replaced by a sub, which would have hurt many coaches out there in Nat Fife. And then Sam Naismith was also replaced in the third quarter by Camden McIntosh for the Tigers.
Yeah, no one saw that Darcy injury coming. Not one person. Luke Ryan, 161. For me, I think Ryan's taken over the mantle of the Seagull. He's taken over from Jake Lloyd. Jake Lloyd was the original Seagull. Well, not the original, but the one that most recent one. I think Luke Ryan is that guy, and he was very, very good. I know. Shout out to JS as well, who's in our group chat. Brought Luke Ryan in this week, which was a pretty out there, not out there call, but no one's looking at defenders. But shout out to you, JS, for bringing him in. Caleb Sarong was obviously big. I'm definitely going to go back and watch his highlights. 141. Very happy with him this week. Caleb's I was going to say Caleb Sarong again. There you go. I'll start again. Hayden Young, 125, was very, very good as well. He went off with a bit of a niggle. I don't quite know what happened. I just saw injured, but he came back on and smashed it. So he was great again. Jordan Clark he got another 93, backed up his 93 with another 93, and he scored between 93 and 99 in every game bar one. So the consistency is fantastic there. Jeremy Sharp, 86, probably buys him a couple of weeks in our teams. Probably going to rise up a tiny bit more in cash. A couple of decent matchups as well coming. The Sydney one, not as much, but after that, it's not bad. Baker and Jackson both with 74 each. Frustrating if you did have them. And then Shy Bolt with a 42. So just, again, three forwards that we are all in the mix, all stinking it up again. So Andrew Brayshaw, Cara, though, 125. A few people have been looking at him. He's about the 900K mark, and he went big today, and a few of those other guys went big. I guess probably the not concern, but the flag with that is that Fife wasn't in the team from the start. So is Brayshaw a guy that you would consider, or do you think Sarong's the main guy in there and he maybe went a little bit bigger just because of Fife being sub?
Yeah, I think you're right about the Fife influence. The price is really good for him though, but yeah, I would prefer Sarong.
Yep, I think I would as well. Yeah, I'm just a bit nervous with that. The free midfield is a tight midfield mix of only 4 players, but it'd be interesting to see if Andrew Brayshaw can put up those big scores, because he's had 2 big scores, but then besides that, there's not been too much there. Tim, Jaden Short, 103. He's very cheap. I guess the trouble is we're probably not looking as much at defenders, but maybe Elliot Yeo getting creative, maybe doing something like that. Is Jaden Short someone you could consider first game back for a ton?
I don't think you're going to get that desperate. I mean, we've got players like Will Graham, Sam Closey, Matt
Roberts.
McKercher, if you've got him. Probably some of us are still stuck with Zach Williams as well. And, in terms of also, who are in like those kind of top end defenders, there's quite a lot of options out there as well. So I don't know that we're going to be going from one of those kind of mid-range Jaden Shorts. I mean, he has thrown up a couple of, a 103, but he hasn't really done much prior to that. A 103 in round 0, a 94 in round 4. But apart from that, they're all kind of 70 games, apart from his injured game against the West Coast Eagles. So, yeah, I don't think he's really shown enough.
Yeah, I would agree as well. Perfect. We'll move on to the probably upset of the weekend.
Yeah, Western Bulldogs. Well, I don't know. I'm not that upset to see it. Maybe we'll see what happens now.
I'm not.
Around the Doggies. Yeah, Western Bulldogs defeated by Hawthorn by 7 points at Marvel Stadium. Hawthorn injuries there. Sicily hurt his shoulder early in the game, but came back on and played. In terms of subs, so Oscar Baker was the sub, and he replaced Charlie Clark in the third quarter, and Nick Watson was the sub for Hawthorn, who replaced Cam McKenzie also in the third quarter.
Yeah, Sicily copped it all today. Dislocated shoulder. I think he did an ankle injury as well. Went forward. He copped it all today. But yeah, so a few players to this game. Tim English, if you went to him this week, you were pretty happy with the 126 there. Adam Treloar, 115, just been really solid and consistent. Bailey Dale, 105, backed up those 2 big tons with another ton there. So if you jumped on him, he'd be very happy with that score. The Bont, 103. Looked better today, just not the fantasy score as much. Apparently, it's like his second highest player ratings from Cham done in his career or something, which I thought was quite interesting, because I don't think he was at that level good, but he was okay. And then Jack McRae, 66. He should have been 78 or 82. But anyway, we'll move on from that. Dylan Moore, 116, Cara. He's probably is he the one forward that you would be happy to jump on? That's now I think he's had about 3 weeks in a row now of good scores and tons. So is he the forward that if you're looking to shop there, would you be considering?
I would. So I unfortunately have gone people like Brian Myers and Brad Hill in my forward line in the last few weeks. And Mike went with Dylan Moore this week and real happy. I think that's a sweet pick. And if you look at what he's been doing, the only flag for him would be that round 15 buy, because for some people, if they're heavy there. But yeah, I would launch into him. No worries. He looked good.
Yeah, last 3 weeks, 96, 114, 116. So been very, very good. And I think a few low scores earlier in the year, that probably came down to a bit of that glandular fever in the preseason that he had. So he looks like he's really playing well. Beautiful. Tim, were you going to say something there? Or
No, I really like Dylan Moore as an option, that's for sure.
Yep, perfect. Beautiful. We'll move on to the final game of the round.
Yeah, Brisbane defeated Gold Coast by, how much was it? But in the end,
I forgot. I forgot to put that down. Yeah,
34 points.
34 points at the Gabba. Thanks for saving Bails' ass for not putting it in the show notes. So there was a bunch. What happened with Starcevic? Was it before the game? He hurt his calf. Was replaced in the side by Logan Morris, who'd already played a VFL game that day.
Yep, something like that. Yeah, absolute carnage for Brisbane.
Then Lincoln McCarthy did a knee. Answorth was concussed, and then Gardner also did a knee. Is that right?
Yep. So those knees look like pretty serious ones as well.
Wow, pretty crazy. Then in terms of subs, so Logan Morris came on as the sub really early in the game because McCarthy did that right in the first quarter. And then Ben Long came on for Gold Coast and replaced Ethan Reid at halftime.
Yeah. No, this game was definitely giving me vibes of that Brisbane Gold Coast game back in the day when Tom Rockcliffe went 190 and Pierce Handy went 180 because Brisbane players racked it up in this game. So Dane Zorko with a 184. So if you had him, that definitely would have made up for any bad luck in the round, or potentially. 3 behind as well in that, so that could have been a lot more. He was absolutely massive. Josh Dunkley, 151. He was also very, very big. Lockie Neal, 137. Quite second half, though. He only had like 32 points, I think, in the second half, but he was massive. Jared Berry, 131. Hugh McCluggage, 122. So all the Brisbane mids getting involved in Zorko as well. Sam Flanders, 104. Ticked over another ton there. Same with Noah Anderson with a 98. Kyle Lone, for anyone that's got him there, scored an 82 as well. Toot Miller was a bit disappointing with 77, but Gold Coast did get badly beaten around the ball. So, well, not a good day for him. Sam Closey, 65, and Will Graham with a 56 as well. And then, you had even a Matt Rowell and a Lukosius there with both scoring 51s there. So, Carl, the question for you, I guess, is that with those Gold Coast rookies with a Closey of 65 and Graham 56, they've now got North up at TIO on Saturday night. So, are you still comfortable with fielding one or potentially both of them on field? Or if there's a way to make benching depending on options, are you preferring to maybe put them onto the bench?
I have more trust in them as one of my rookies on field. At the moment, I need to field one of them, and I went Graham this week. I would happily field one of them still and fix something else up elsewhere if you can. But they're not the top of my list of my problems.
Yeah, have you got either of them on your field?
One of them. So I've got Graham on my field at the minute, and I've got people like Cadman and some of those other rookies on my bench that have just stopped making money. So I need to try and fix something there, and I don't know if I'll get one of these lads off it.
Yeah. Tim, have you got either of these guys on your field?
Yeah, I've got, I had Will Graham. I benched Closey this week, put for Will Graham on the side. I mean, that did cost me 9 points, but I'm not really that disappointed with it. I would probably, up at TIO, I'd probably feel a bit more confident with a Will Graham than I would Closey. I just think that kind of in and under, contested player would maybe do a little bit better in those conditions than a wing like Closey. But yeah, look, once again, I'm still pretty confident. I mean, playing them on field. I mean, depending on how you're going as well. Matt Roberts with a 49 this week, but with the conditions that he was playing in, and I know that will kind of dent his cash gen a little bit, but I'm still pretty confident with him on field, particularly over both of those players. Especially considering the conditions he was playing in, and he still scored basically just as well as pretty much both of those players that are all close enough too. So, but yeah, look, I mean, I do think you probably want to be trying to maybe maximize the rookies in the forward line, because that's where there's the least scoring differential between other players, competing players for those spots, and trying to minimize those those midfield rookies for higher scoring players.
Yeah, well, that was Robert's
one thing I noticed.
Yep.
I noticed with that game though, Flanders ended up playing a bit of midfield and forward. Like, he came out of that defense role that we like him for. That changed, and when that happened, I'm not sure. I haven't checked the heat map and stuff, but I thought that's when Closey's scoring picked up as well. So it'd be interesting to see what happens this coming weekend. Yeah,
it seemed that shift from what I saw, that pushed Closey actually down into off half back as well, a little bit more defensive, and he pushed Will Graham out to a wing and Flanders in the midfield. Yeah. I think that might have been just moving the magnets because they just had a bad first half. So yeah, definitely one to watch though. Something to be considering moving forward. But I was just going to say Matt Roberts, that was his only score below 68 this year. So he's been very good besides that. So I think he's personally a hold till his round 12 bye, unless you got no issues and you can trade him out. So, but yeah, Tim, the only other player I was going to ask you about before we get into some questions was Dane Zorko. So he's got the round 12 bye. It's going to be expensive, but with the lack of these forwards, they're all faltering. But Zorko, I know he had a bad week last week, but he went back to half back and had that role again. Is he a guy that we've probably got to make one of the top priorities through the buys just to get him in, to lock him in as a forward?
Well, I'm still leaning towards fading him. I mean, especially after last week in that role change. I mean, I think that kind of more confirmed our suspicions more than anything else. Once again, I mean, I can't. What's he priced at now? I mean, if I'm going to be bringing in a player at what is he?
$8.99K before this change.
Yeah,
so
119 break even, so he'll be 930, 940.
Something along those lines. Like if I'm going to be bringing in a 940 player, like do I want to be bringing in, the likes of Errol Gouldens, Marcus Bontempelli, Nick Dacos, or do I want to be bringing in a Dane Zorko? I think I would be looking at doing one of those players instead.
Yeah, no, I like it. I think it's a good point as well because he probably will miss a game at some point as well. So, but he was very good regardless. Perfect. Well, that wraps up the games. We'll turn our attention to the next part, Tim.
All right. Well, let's turn our attention to questions, Bale. So, have you got the questions there, mate?
Yeah. So before we do turn our attention to questions, so Cara, in terms of the bullets that we've copped this week, there's been a lot of them. Where would sort of the priority ones lie for you? So we've obviously got your Tom Greens, you've got Connor Rozee, Jai Caldwell, Elliot Yeo. I'm probably missing 100 off the top of my head as well. There's rookies as well. What would be your top priorities in terms of bullets to deal with?
It's hard for me to say because I didn't cop too many, so they're not in my mind. Like I think Green's probably potentially a bit like Marshall, where if he's named, I think you could probably just keep him and roll with him. I'm trying to think who the other bullets were. I haven't suffered like others. Yo, obviously, I think I'm going to have to sort him out. Even if he's named, that makes me concerned. I just can't see it happening anyway. So I think he's got to go for me.
Yeah. Tim, as someone that copped a couple, and obviously myself as well, who are you looking at as a priority that you're trying to move out this week?
Yeah, the one I'm most worried about is Elliot Yeo. Like I said, I think it's just a matter of time before that was going to kind of fall apart. So it's now that time, and I think we kind of got away with it a little bit in terms of him scoring a 62 rather than it being, a 7 like Tom Green. So I think he's going to be a high priority to upgrade to, kind of an Uber Primo or something along those lines, or depending on what other issues you're dealing with. Tom Green, look, I mean, the news so far seems that if he might be available this week, even if he's not available this week, you'd think he's definitely going to be available next week. So, for a player to miss 1 week, a lot of the times coaches consider holding, and especially considering it's Tom Green, who I think for many coaches probably ranked him as a top 4 midfielder. I know I don't like the look of trading him out. I know, I mean, it's only Sunday night, right? So there's a lot of thinking to go into it. But right now, he's probably a hold for me. I don't have a Connor Rozee, which is probably another bullet that a lot of coaches got this week. What are any other bullets I'm missing?
There's probably too many that we're probably going to forget a couple, I think. So
yeah, probably.
We'll go through some of them that are in the question, but just Lockout has actually lifted while we're live. Tom Green's break even 166 and down 78K. So yeah,
it's gonna be cheap for coaches to bring in, that's for sure.
Exactly. And I've already done my trades as well, so I'm sure. And so if you want to get doing rage trading, do your rage trades. I'm sure we'll go through them at the very end.
Focus on the pod, mate. Focus on the pod.
Anyway, we'll answer the questions here. So we have got. Oh, no. So I'll just read this one out from Jack Mulder. Thoughts with him. He said, drop from rank 160 to 2,800 over the last 3 weeks. Traded in Green over Sarong this week, which was the final kick in the guts. Brutal. Yeah, mate. Yep. It was a tough week for a lot of people.
And look, a lot of coaches would have made that exact call. Bringing in a Tom Green over a Caleb Sarong. I know I did.
That's where I was talking about that on Twitter or X about that luck. Like I look at these situations where it's just those sliding door moments and it's just that luck of that pick or that injury, and it, either you get a hat or you don't. Like it's just cruel.
Yeah, fantasy.
That is this game.
For anyone. Yeah. And another good one from Karen Shanahan. Best 18 would have been handy this week. 100%. That would have been that'd have been a lifesaver for a lot of people.
I would have finally killed it.
What do we got here? So a lot of people just complaining. This is the therapy session. So here we go. So we'll do the first question from Andrew Domahidi on Twitter. Shout out to Andrew. Any thoughts on Matt Roberts to Nick Dacos and Cherry to English? That's what he's looking at doing. So, Cara, what are your thoughts on Roberts to Dacos and Cherry to English? I don't know about Cherry out, but Roberts to Dacos, are you ticking that one off?
Yeah, yep.
Yeah. So, I'd be definitely keeping Cherry, Andrew, after that best score there. What have we got here? Wow, bloody hell. Oh, no, Exception was just saying anyone's got Zorko Cat and he wants to see a screenshot. Yeah, I'd love to see that as well.
Yeah, wow.
What do we got here? So Raymond Shav's got this question, Tim. What are we doing with Petrarca? So he is now down priced at, I think, 808, 128 break even. I don't think he's hit 100 in his last three. Yep, 64, 74, and 77. What are we doing with him? Are we just holding, just waiting for him to come good, or are we getting off?
Yeah, it's. I mean, these are those kind of. I mean, traditionally, you'd say you hold your primos, right? You just kind of wait for him to come off because you're just going to waste a trade, bring in an Uber primo somewhere else. You're going to, also kind of lock in that cash loss as well. But it is a bit of a faster game with more trades, and there's certainly a play to be getting off these kind of players, especially with the carnage over these last couple of weeks as well. You might be able to turn them into a couple of little sideways trades. I think Dylan Moore is going to be a pretty popular target in the forward line. He's priced pretty cheaply. You could slide from what you thought was going to be a top 8 midfielder down into, what might be a top 6 forward, and still have money to kind of fix up something else. So, especially with, what was it? Tom Green losing $70,000?
Yeah,
Elliot Yeo lost $30,000 or something along those lines. So, you might need that little bit of cash to do a little bit of a fix up on the other side. So, I don't mind getting off someone like him. And I don't think Melbourne, I know they knocked off Geelong, but they haven't looked particularly good all year.
Yeah.
Apart from bloody Max bloody gone.
Yeah. Corey Blackledge has got this one, Cara. So how would you rank these trade priorities? So he's got Elliot Yeo, Zach Williams, Connor Rosie, and Tom Green. So, yeah, and he also said here as well, he was one of only 137 people who had Williams, Rosie, Green, and Yeo, according to Jaden's stats. So, yeah, Corey, mate, condolences for you, mate. But
that's tough.
How would you rank those 4 trade-outs, Cara?
I think depending, obviously, I haven't looked at the fixture to see who's playing what and what your loophole strategy could be, just to see if a rookie does enough to hold someone like Green, for instance, if he's only out potentially a week. Rosie, that's going to be an interesting whether he's only out for a week. I think my priority, who's going to be more than a week, would be someone like Yeo. And I think, in a way, I think Williams could even just hold again, unfortunately, just because of those other issues.
I'd agree. I don't think you can hold Green and Rosie if you've got both. I think you're holding Green out of the 2 because Rosie we don't know. So, yeah, it probably is. I think, Carrie, I think it probably is going to be Yeo and Rosie, and you've just got to hold Williams for Corey there, which is very unfortunate because Williams has definitely been a failed pick for all of us. But, I think that might be where you go there, Corey.
Before we move on as well, we didn't really talk about Zach Williams. So he was assessed for a glute concern, obviously. It came from the ground in the 3rd quarter, but then returned. Yeah,
it's frustrating because
he's looking average. He looks sore and tired.
Yeah. He's not scoring. We want to get off him, that's for sure. But yeah,
I think if you can jump off, great. If you can't, you've probably got like a Closier or Graham on the bench that you can just play on the field over him, and might just have to leave Williams on your bench. But if you can train, if you don't have the bullets, then yeah, I definitely would be looking at trading. Marco's got this question, Tim. Sinclair, Oliver, and Parrish, rank those 3 options in terms of who you'd be bringing in.
Or price and also position, right? So
Sinclair is priced at 846. Clayton
Yeah.
Oliver is priced at 722. His break-even is down at 97 now as well, which is good. And then Darcy Parish is now 847, break-even 66. So he's probably the one that's going to get away from if you don't jump on him. But whether you want it or not.
Oh man, I mean, they're quite different options, right? So it's really hard to compare. And also being across the different positions. I mean, now that we've got a Yo going down, I mean, Sinclair seems like a pretty good option that you could get across to for only $100,000 or less than $100,000. But for coaches that are looking a little bit desperate this week, I do like the look of a Clayton Oliver. I might need to go back and have a look at that game and have a look at exactly how he scored his points. But yeah, I mean, I think there will be some savvy coaches that might look to skip across to Clayton Oliver this week.
Yeah, well, funny enough, you've got like a Riley Bonner who's 729. Who you would have thought at the start of the year could go Riley Bonner to Clayton Oliver and make 7K. That'll be something that I'm probably going to consider next week because Bonner does have the Hawks. Then I think he's got Freo, Melbourne, West Coast. But those two juicy matchups are gone. So that might be something coaches look at. But we're not looking at jumping off Bonner because there's a lot of other issues to deal with, I think. So Woods Luke has got this question on Twitter, Cara. Is Yo to Colby McKercher a play if you can get Graham or another rookie up to a Laird or a Darcy Parish?
Yes, I think so.
Yep, I am agreeing with that as well. I think that a good trade.
I think fantastic.
Maybe not Graham. He's got to break into 36. He's got North this week. I think he's got a little bit of cash to make. But if you've got a Williams, or if you can do a Cadman or a Harvey Thomas or another rookie.
Yeah, someone who's already peaked.
Yeah, I'd be looking at doing that instead. But hey, if Graham's the only thing you can do to get to him, then we have always said that if that's the rookie you need to get off of, then you can. Chris said, can you so Chris Cara says, can you guys tick off Green to Dacos and Yo to Parish benching Rosie for McKercher? So I'll probably just switch that around and just say trade Rosie to Dacos, Yo to Parish, and bench Green for McKercher. You ticking those off?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would be as well. L McLean 89. Dylan Moore. So Cara, I think we were chatting about him before, but Dylan Moore, your thoughts?
Yeah, I would jump on easy. Like I have been trying to sort out some of those forwards because some of those rookie scores sitting on your field can be pretty poor, and I think there's a real difference there where you could be 60 points ahead on that one player with some of these picks. And yeah, Moore would be my top forward for this week going in.
Yeah. Jack Wilson, Tim, who goes out? Dempsey and Caldwell? I guess it just depends if Caldwell's out or not.
Yeah. Obviously, if he's injured, injured player goes.
Yeah, well, I'll go this one to you again as well. Angelo, is Fife is a bullet, but what are you doing with Fife? Where does he go in the priorities to trade X being the star and the sub? Cashgen's now gone.
How much is he worth now?
He is currently priced at 500 and
630. He's made it.
630. Well, okay. I thought he was 500. All right, okay. Well, I was badly off there. Break even 82. He's had his rest now, I guess.
Was he injured or was he just rested?
No, just rested.
Yeah, I mean, you might think now that they play him for another stack of games, right?
And I guess with the forwards,
I don't think he's a high priority. Look, it's something to consider during the week, right? But he might now just be playing for the next set of games because of how he's scoring. But at the same time, there's a fair bit of cash on his head, so maybe you can use that cash to do something else. But yeah, look, forward line's not a high priority.
Yeah, I think you're right, though. They got 4 weeks and they got the bye. So they got Sydney, St Kilda, Collingwood, Melbourne, then the bye. So you'd probably like to
run him to the bye.
Going to play there. So, that could definitely be a play. We've got a couple more here and then we'll wrap up. Tony Ford, Cara, thoughts on Cadman down to Lockie Sullivan and Yo up to Caleb Sarong?
Definitely the Yo on and Sullivan. He is that kid that just played. What did he get?
Yeah, 57 from half a game.
Yeah, no issue with that. I'd do it.
Yeah, 225 with a break even of 3 as well. If they could afford Darcy Jones, would you pay the extra, 40, 50K to get him if they don't have him?
Look, you can. I feel like he's cemented his spot more than were a bit scared probably a week ago. I am happy with the cheaper option as long as Sullivan gets picked. So I don't know when they're playing, but you just want to make sure that's the case. But yeah, I definitely would be getting Cadman. I want gone. He's done. So I think do it.
Yep, I'd agree. Final two questions here. Chris has got this question. No, sorry, I should do the Johnny Test one first. Rage trades, Yoda Dawson and Gallagher to Bruce Revel, another sub 300k rook. What are your thoughts on Dawson? He's probably one we didn't chat about too much. Got the 100, tough matchup, but still look pretty solid again.
Yeah. What's he priced at now? He'd be pretty juicy in terms of his price as well.
972, so a bit more expensive, but he's got a good 5-week run of Brisbane, Collingwood, West Coast, Hawthorn, Richmond.
I think he'll be up there in one of the top targets this week, probably.
Yep. And then the final one comes from Chris. So Cara, we've spoken about Saligo before, but could you do Yo to Saligo?
Ooh. I don't know about if. So that means if you're doing Yo to Saligo, what are you doing on the other end? Is my question. Are you getting a rookie off your field?
Yeah, so
that would be the only thing.
You only make about 30k, and funny enough, Clayton Oliver is 7k cheaper than Saligo. So, would you rather an Oliver over Saligo?
Yeah, I reckon I'd reach for Oliver.
Yeah, I think potentially as well. Tim, you agrees with that as well?
Yeah, I think I would try and I'd try and go for an underpriced primo from there.
So I think again, Oliver's
I just don't really want to be stuck with. He's not going to be top 10, top 15. Probably not even top 20 midfielder or even close, right? So I'm just...
Whereas Oliver's on the upside of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. So
the only thing I'd say that might make you change is what your buy structure looks like. What's their buys?
Yeah, ran 15 for Saligo, ran 14 for Clayton Oliver.
Yeah.
So basically...
if that comes into play, that will do it.
Yeah, basically it's all team dependent.
They're fighting words.
All right. Well, on those, on that, Cara, it was great having you on. Really appreciate it. Of course, all the work you do. We haven't seen you much around the content space this year, but is there anything you want to share with our listeners, and what are your early trade thoughts?
Yeah. So yes, I'm moving to Melbourne for a job. So the AFL Fantasy Perth, I won't be there. I think my final Friday is this Friday. So if people want to come down to the Camfield, that would be awesome to see you. And then in regards to the follow-ups after that, hopefully some other people will be there. I'll share whoever wants to be.
We'll keep it running.
So we'll watch the space there. And then, but yes, obviously a room for people to stay in if they come to Melbourne for the footy. And then, yeah, rage trades. Honestly, I think Yo's got to go, and it's going to be someone like Cadman, and just trying to get another rookie off my fields for aim. But I have no idea. Usually I'd be doing that right now, and instead I was on here.
Yeah, no, it's very hard to know what you're going to be trading or what trades you're going to be doing, although like Bails says, he's already locked his in, which is not necessarily that unusual either.
Wow.
But I think the other thing that's worth noting, you're not just moving to Melbourne, you got a really wicked job as well. So
thank you.
You've got an opportunity to work with someone really special doing something that only very few people get a chance to do in the country. So congratulations on that. And we're going to miss you. And of course, we'll keep it all running over here.
Exactly. Cheers, mate. And the plans to still come back to Perth one day. So don't worry, we'll be back.
Fantastic. All right, Bails, what about your trade plans, mate? What have you locked in so far?
Williams to McKercher, Yoda Dacos. Done.
11K. Sorry, what was it?
I said that quickly. Williams to McKercher.
Yeah.
Yoda Dacos. 11K in the bank. So, and
that
was because I edited the trade. I was originally going to, as you know, I was going to do Jai Clark out. Instead, I went Cadman, which turned to Thomas with the sub. And that thankfully has given me enough cash to do that. So I'm pretty happy with those trades. And I don't know if they'll change, but they probably will. We know they always do. So, but yeah, that's what I'm looking at. And then in terms of just one thing to quickly plug as well, Fantasy Q&A, obviously Tuesday night. I think we'll probably be doing another one of those again at the normal time of 9 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Perth time. So if you guys want to tune to that and get questions answered, I'm sure there'll be plenty of questions because by then we'll probably have some updates and players. So make sure you guys tune in over on YouTube or on Twitter. But thanks, guys, for tonight.
Excellent. Well, my
Cheers.
trade plan, I don't know, but yeah, I'm not sure yet. But it might be something like a Zach Williams to a McKercher and a Yo to like a Dylan Moore in the forward line or something along those lines. That's what I was kind of thinking of. But we'll see how we go, how the week pans out. But thanks to everyone for joining us, and a special thanks to those who joined us live, and in particular those who sent us in questions. And of course, you can send us your questions during the weeks to us on X, and please give us a follow at AFL Fantasy Fans. And don't forget to choose in live each week after the final siren of the round on X and YouTube for our round review, along with Fridays at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard, 4 p.m. Western Standard for our pre-lockout chats. And finally, you can listen to these spaces on the AFL Fantasy Podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. And please subscribe to the pod and give us a 5-star rating and review wherever you listen to your podcasts. Now, Rage, trade away. Best of luck with your research, and we'll catch you all again at the same time next week. Thanks a lot, and bye for now.
See ya.
Cheers. Bye.